So I want to back up a little bit. There's so much there. I'm not going to try to, I guess, summarize any of that. So you guys, I would highly recommend to re-listen to all that. Because operating, being in charge of your own operations absolutely makes you more nimble and able to burr if you need to. It's just a lot of benefits. But I want to get back to you and I find, or at least found deals the same way. And I come from the outside sales world, and it sounds like you weren't in sales at all, but you are absolutely a salesman. You were your goal was to get appointments with these owners, and then you just tried talking their story, right?
Absolutely.
And that just builds confidence. So talk a little bit about that. Where did you learn that, for one?
That's a good question. I was an only child, so maybe I was talking to myself a lot, or just really excited to talk to somebody since I was an only child. I'm trying to process that as I get older. I think a lot of it, I was always pretty outgoing in high school, became somewhat oddly popular with every clique. But my job that I worked at the grocery store, I looked at it as it was kind of a new beginning for me when I moved out to Nebraska. And I took on this idea that whatever I do is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it the best that I can, whatever the job is. My first job I was a bouncer and bar back at night, get off at 2 a.m. and then I'd be at Starbucks at 5:30. So this is a dude with a bachelor's degree. It's 2007, 2008, slinging coffee, a barista. But I said, you know what? I'm just going to do this job perfectly. And what's the worst that can happen? And, I got promoted a month later. But what it did is it put me in an environment that I saw thousands of people a day that I had to speak with. And I realized that, the more energy I brought, the better I did with customers and my fellow employees, the faster I climbed the ladder. And also it made just life a lot easier. Like you have two options. I've got, if I get a tattoo, this will be it. But there's two things you can control every day. There's really three, but the two that I like to focus on, and I have it written down every morning, is your effort and your attitude. Your effort. You can choose to do something or you can choose to not do something. That's your effort, but you have a choice there. And your attitude, the same thing, the same problem that people could see as a problem, you could see as an opportunity. So understanding that, I decided to put effort into everything I did, because regardless of the situation, I had to be there if I wanted to make money. So I was going to put effort into it because I'm there anyways. And then the attitude was I could either shy away from these confrontations or I could go full bore into it. I could either be, what is it? The cow and the buffalo. The cow runs away from the storm. The buffalo runs through it because they know that on the other side, the storm is not there. It's the same thing with problems. Problems linger on because you choose not to address them. It's painful to address problems, but once you address them, then the hard part is over with. So I really think it was just working in that business. And plus I moved out to a place I didn't know anybody, so I could kind of reinvent myself in that standpoint. So, I think just moving, I was ready to grow up and not do the same thing. And I said, hey, don't really care what everybody else thinks. I don't know anybody. So I'm going to create the vision of myself that I want it to be. And kind of that's what I did when I started real estate. I was like, there are other people out there that are doing this. Why not me? I don't know any of those people, but I'm reading about them and it seems possible. So why not me? Why is the, the bucket of crabs, once a crab starts getting out, all the other crabs start pulling you down. And that was some of the initial commentary when I started on my real estate journey. I remember one of the guys at my work was like, you really want to give up this crazy gravy train? That's crazy. Or, be careful, be careful. People lose all the time, and they're not wrong. But it's a choice. It's a choice. Sure, bad situations can come up, deals go sideways, but it's your choice of just accepting that or continuing to move forward.
Well, and society's kind of taught us that too, right?
Yes.
We could dive into schools for probably 3 hours.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's where we're taught kind of that mindset, right? And it sticks with us for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. How many kids do you have?
Got two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our kids are around the same ages.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've got a 4, 6, and 8-year-old. So what are you doing? I know this is your podcast, but what are you doing to, to instill some of those things? Because it's interesting. Some of the conversations my son's 8, going to be 9, but there's all these different pressures and these different things and these different normalcies, which I'm trying to unnormalize for him. And, he sees it with what we have and also how I work. I'm not at the bar every night. That's not something that interests me. I work, I'm on the phone, or I'm hanging out with them. Or I'm going to the gym. Those are the 3 things I'm doing. So, trying to have them associate themselves of the ability to think differently, recognize patterns, not just memorization, but patterns, but also that you reap what you sow. Effort matters.
Yep.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you're teaching your kids?
Man, it's tough because especially, so daughter's 10 and son is coming up on 7, but daughter's getting to the age where it's harder to hold her attention on what I want to talk about. So it's getting tougher. But yeah, just trying to slip things in here and there on, it's hard, man. It's hard. Fortunately, we're in a very good school system, which is good, but there's still habits that I want them to get away from with that. I think for me, it's harder with, I'm at home. I work at home. And even during the summer, my schedule's pretty loose. I'm not truly working 40 hours a week. I'll work a few hours in the morning, maybe a few hours in the afternoon. And it's kind of like what you said. I'm always working in my head, but it's sporadic too.
Yep.
So they didn't see the complete grind of working from 6:30 in the morning till 3:30. And then I would coach basketball afterwards. They didn't see that grind. And then also renovating houses, single family rentals that I had. They didn't see that grind. So for me, that's the bigger thing is there are people that are working 9 to 5 or more, right? My wife worked 12-hour shifts. They never saw that.
Yeah.
Those are the things that it's like, how do I instill in them that, hey, this isn't everyday life. Not every mom and dad stays home and is home at all times. That's been harder for me. And we'll see. You don't know how your kids are going to turn out, but that is my challenge, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree because, I'm sure similar to you, the beginning stages are hard because you can't escape any of the work. You have not enough capital to hire resources. You don't know what you're doing, so you wouldn't even know what to do with those resources. There's no real scalability in what you're doing. So you're doing everything all the time. And you're probably doing it, with 10 times the effort because you haven't done it before. And yeah, that is a concern because, it's, by all means, we have a good life. Not something I was, aware of when I was a kid. And I think that, probably drove me to get to where I am because I wanted something different.
Well, that's the thing. That's what, and I skipped over that, but the drive, right? We all come from something from our childhood and, going forward that drove us. My guess is most of us we didn't have silver spoons. So it's, I had a good childhood, grew up. We lived in a nice house all the time, but money was definitely tight. And I think that's been instilled in me. I don't want to be in that position. I don't want money to be tight. So how do we carry that on to our kids is what I'm trying to figure out.
I don't know. What's his name? Joe DeSena, the guy that created the Spartan race. I think he takes kids for a week and just puts them through a tough boot camp. So maybe we do that with our kids. It's up in New Hampshire. And he'll just, he'll put them through the ringer. So I think it's something like that.
I've always thought to have a kids mastermind. Actually, we've got a group. It's called LFG, which I've talked about on here before, but there's one guy that's brought 2 of his kids. Actually, we've had 2 or 3 kids that have come. They're between 17 and 20 years old, which is awesome to see them in a room with entrepreneurs and talking about stuff that I'm sure they understand 5% of, but it opens their minds. I would love to have a teenager mastermind group. That would be awesome.
Yeah. I would say if I have a BHAG, it's which I do, it's to fix education for the youth. And I know that's a massive goal, but to your point, I love that idea. I think sports really helps. And, I wrestled in high school. I was, average at best. Team sports are great. There's a lot you learn from team sports, but I also think individual sports bring out a certain level of character that you can't hide from. Meaning that, my son was wrestling, and numerous times he's wanted to quit, numerous times. And, quit in the middle of practice, quit after he loses a match at a tournament. And my answer has always been, you can quit after you win. Like you go and win, you can quit, or at the end of the season, but you quit after you win. And I ask him every single time he wins, do you want to quit now? And 100% of the time, it's like I haven't even asked the question. He's ignoring it because it's so ridiculous. Of course, he doesn't want to quit. He just won. Like he just got the success of it. And it's, I think creating those like internal disciplines, because at the end of the day, like everything we do is based around discipline. Do you get up early? Do you eat right? Are you saying the right things? Are you thinking the right things? Are you, being kind versus being an asshole? Like, are you taking care of your problems? But it's all related to just discipline.
It is. That's the biggest thing. Man, I talk to other friends and I'm like, if our kids have any type of nuts and discipline, like they're going to rule the world. Yeah. I think people have just this is a longer discussion, but I think people have just gotten soft, and that entails everything. And I think discipline is definitely one of those. And you have to be disciplined. If you're not disciplined, you're going to struggle. Yeah.
You just gotta do it. Like if you don't like to go to the gym, I can't remember who I heard this, but person wanted to lose weight, go to the gym. Well, he would just make the person drive to the gym, do one set, and then go home. Don't do any more. Don't get sore. Just build up the discipline of doing it. Atomic Habits is great. I don't remember 99.9% of what he says in there, and everybody loves the book. But there is one thing that he does, and it's kind of the cues for the next morning. So a couple of years ago, I got really out of shape. It was like in the grind of business. I was working a lot, eating incredibly unhealthy. I was waking up every 2 hours to answer emails for 2 hours. And it was after COVID. I ballooned up like 40 pounds overnight. My wife has 3 kids, loses 10 pounds. And I'm the guy that, put on all the weight for both of us. And I knew I had to make some changes. So besides, looking at, blood panels and everything, one of the things that I knew is like, I just had to get up and do something. And I was like in a bad rut of not doing it. But James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, I would make sure that I put all my clothes out by my bedside, because I'd realize there were some days I'd wake up a little late, then I couldn't find my clothes, and then I'd miss the gym. And I was like, oh, it's too late. Well, too bad. Well, the night before I put that out, I have my lemon water right beside my bed. I have every single thing, my protein drink out, make sure my AirPods are there. I'd make sure everything's ready to go so that it's a seamless transition. And I think if you can set yourself up that way in multiple areas of your life, whether it's being prepared for a meeting, just having some order in your life of that, and just like sequentially doing things, that will help you become disciplined, because it's the chaos and it's those like repetitive thoughts in your head of like, where's my clothes? I don't think people realize how much like valuable real estate those stupid decisions are costing you. No, you could be thinking about something useful. Yep. And we all go through the bad tailwinds, and it's like, why was I thinking about that for an hour? That was a waste of time. But if you can just get rid of some of those things and remove the resistance, life becomes a lot easier. No, you're right, man. That's such good stuff. And it's very easy to compare working out to how disciplined you are or can be. I struggled with it. I remember telling, and I played basketball through junior year of college. And so it was like, I've been working out forever, right? Training and all that. And then after that, for probably, 5 to 8 years, it's like, why should I work out? Like, I have no drive. I have nothing to work out for. Right. But I also knew that it was good for you. So eventually I realized I need to work out. I'm going to work out. And it was hard to get that momentum going, but it was kind of like what you said, just get to the gym. Don't worry about getting sore. Do one set. And I just started off slow and then just stacking days. And then I think I started with even like, I had a calendar and just
seeing how many X's I could get in a row on days that I worked out. It's little things like that, but that has also allowed other areas of my life to become disciplined too. Just that one thing, it probably just builds confidence, right? It's like I can be disciplined in this one area, so now I can apply that somewhere else. Yeah,
it's crazy. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
Yeah,
it's just
100%.
It's and we all go through bad spells, at least most of us do. And it's like, man, I ate like shit, or drank too much, or did this, or stayed up too late, or, you know, I avoided taking that call, or I avoided doing that email. But it's like, okay, it just starts with one. Just like, it gets really hard as like, I mean, probably for you and certainly for me, it's like so overwhelming sometimes. And it's like, okay, just how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Like seriously, like the tornado this weekend, dude, you just look around and everything's just ravaged. And it's just like, dude, where do you even start? And it's like, okay, like, I mean, especially because the whole state's like freaking out. Like there's no real plan in place. Like you can't have a plan. I mean, sure, you can send in people, but like, there's no real, like, there's not a lot of case studies on what to do when there's 52 tornadoes and take out a bunch of neighborhoods. And it's like, okay, you know, I started thinking about it. I was like, okay, wait, what can I do? I was like, all right, neighbors over there, they're in bad shape. Okay. So what am I going to do? It's like, they don't need water. Like there's plenty of water. They don't need my condolences. They don't need me to ask them how they're doing or if they need something. Like, sure, I can do that in passing, but they don't need that. They don't need my text messages. What they need is their car to be cleared from their garage and stuff to be cleared out of their house so they can get moved. So it's like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to call the dozen guys I know. I'm going to get a dumpster trailer there. I'm going to throw on gloves. I'm going to go get sweaty and work for 12 hours. Like, it's just like, you just got to move like one piece at a time for like the thing that is causing the block. Like, and if the thing that's causing the block is making that phone call, if it's your health or your fitness, if it's any of those things, you gotta start with the root issue. I know Brandon Turner was talking about the podcast that he did with one of the guys from Jackass, I believe.
Yeah, that was a good one. What's his name?
I can't remember, but basically, you know, he had a really bad, you know, lots of addictions, and lifts up his shirt, and you know, he puts Brandon Novak and puts no more effing heroin on his stomach, because every single problem in his life was related to that one thing, and nothing would get fixed until that one thing was handled. So I think lots of people are avoiding the one thing in their life, you know, bad relationship, bad job, anything like that, that if they handle that, which is really difficult, everything opens up to them.
Yeah. That's a great point. That's awesome, man. This has been awesome. So
you're awesome.
I want to kind of summarize kind of your journey, and then I've got a few questions, but it sounds like you were able to start in real estate investing. Obviously, we understand your drive and your energy. We get that. But it sounds like you're able to use a HELOC, I'm assuming, to start purchasing multifamily, small multifamily, and then you bird, which is basically getting equity out in cash to put into more deals.
Yep.
And then you started a meetup and you started meeting new people. You started doing property management, right? Yep. And then you JV'd and grew exponentially that way.
Yeah. And I mean, we didn't even get into the syndication process. We've done 22 syndications, raised about 60 million. And we've gone full cycle on about 60 projects. So returning 100% capital. So we'll save that for part two.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in what, basically 7 years?
Yep.
2,400 units. It's insane, dude.
Yep.
It's insane.
And we've got about 1,000 units under contract right now.
Unreal. So 3,400. Sorry. Left that out.
It's nothing's done until it's closed. There's plenty plenty of things to blow up every deal. So I even hesitate saying it. So
yep. No, I get it. That's awesome, man. This has been an awesome show. So got 3 questions here. What's one thing that you're better at than everybody else?
I thought you were going to ask me the one question you asked at the mastermind. That was 3 questions.
This is a somewhat family-friendly show.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I apologize for my language earlier. You can bleep it.
No.
You can bleep it out.
We just can't go down that path.
Yeah. What's one thing that I think I'm better? I think, You know, you can take a piece of paper and you draw a dot from the top and the bottom and you draw a line through. And that's how typically people go through life. I'm the guy that folds the paper over and just goes right through the middle. And what I've found is that I can see certain things in people and then problems that are occurring. And I'm really good at connecting those individuals and finding common ground between those people. Sometimes it's myself, sometimes it's others, to create different partnerships.
Got it. That's awesome, man. So this is, and I was just thinking about this as you were talking. This is kind of a two-part question. What drives you now? Because obviously you're fine. Like, I'm assuming you have to work another day in your life, but you're highly motivated. What drives you, and then what's next for you?
You know, there's a lot that drives me. I think when, you know, people ask what the end game is, they never really have a good answer. I can give a lot of different reasons to keep going. You know, there's just so much in this world that can be accomplished. And I feel if you're one of the lucky ones that has the capability and drive to do it, you should. If it's for the betterment of individuals, creating other jobs, you know. People also ask, you know, what do you want? And what I want is on my deathbed for my kids to say that they liked me, like, and that I was a good dad. Like, that's important to me. And I think those things, you know, I'm not a perfect father, not at all. But I think those things occur by continually making yourself a better individual by doing hard things. And sometimes those hard things are through business. Sometimes those hard things are through, you know, creating philanthropic adventures, whatever that is. But I'm just not a person that's happy that's standing still. I feel that it's selfish to be wasteful in that way. I'm not saying you can't relax and chill out, but I think you should always strive to be productive. And that doesn't mean to go make a bunch of money. That just means you could bring joy to people. You could do whatever you want. But I think that being productive is so important, because if you're not, you're really just taking from everybody else.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. What's next for you?
What's next? Like I said, we've got a bunch of projects coming up under contract, really trying to rebrand and get the meetup going again. That is something that I fizzled out for a while. I think I got burnt out about a year ago. And so now putting a lot of effort in bringing in really, really good speakers, focusing on that. Yeah, I got a bunch of cool things in the works. Trying to continue to elevate the people that I'm chatting with and be more conscientious with my time. There was a point where my life was meeting overrun, and I still have a lot of meetings. Trying to focus on clearing those up, creating more accountability for my people, and get back to the basics and solve the real core issues, so that I can continue to grow my business. You know, I would say the past while I've been in more of an adding phase rather than a multiplying phase. And starting to realize that there are possibilities to kind of multiply both my business and myself, and, you know, kind of the communities, and just focusing on some of those bigger things, taking a step back to really think of, like, not how do you go from 1 to 2, but how do you go to 1 to, you know, 200.
Yep. That's cool, man. Last one, where can people find you?
On Instagram, Collin C. Schwartz. On Facebook, on LinkedIn. I don't really check it. I do have a TikTok account, but I'm not on TikTok, but I do have a profile on there. Oh, and YouTube. My social media guy says to go to my YouTube because that's the new big thing. So I put shorts out there and a bunch of other content. So, yep.
It's awesome, man. Awesome. This has been an awesome show. I feel like I'm still in my flow state. Just,
nice.
Being on here with you. So appreciate you coming on. Appreciate all the knowledge you dropped, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.